I had an absentee father, so never really had a relationship with him. So I kind of I latched on to Rod Serling in some way. And even as a as a young boy at an early age, I knew that there was more than meets the eye to the guy in the suit smoking a cigarette and speaking in these kind of short clipped tones and with very intense vocabulary. I knew that there was more to him than that, and that there was something that really made me want to know more about him. And it was through researching him that I found out about his whole background in boxing, and that compelled me to start writing the articles that turned into this book.
So before we go into the Twilight Zone, just take us back to Sterling's start as a writer. What inspired him to be a writer and to get into that?
Sure. Well, he initially wanted to go into physical education. That was his what he originally wanted to do. He had gone to Antioch College in Yellow Springs, Ohio, the liberal progressive arts school where his brother had gone. Um, he turned to writing primarily because of his service in World War II. He experienced, as I'm sure a lot of servicemen do, the horrors of war. He was much to his chagrin. He'd wanted initially to go to Europe. Sterling's Jewish, and he wanted to go to Europe and fight the Nazis, but they assigned him to the Pacific Theater. So he served in the Philippines, the Japanese occupied Philippines, and it was there he witnessed one of his best friends get crushed by a falling crate on a routine food drop. He himself had a close brush with death. He was coming out of a clearing in the woods, and so came face to face with a Japanese soldier taking dead aim at him with a rifle. And if not for his friend who was right in back of him and took out the Japanese sniper with a shot over Rod's shoulder, he might never have made it out. His father died while he was in the service, which had a really profound effect on him. And he hadn't accumulated the amount of points to be able to go home and be with his family and be there for the service. So that had a really lasting impact on him. He had shrapnel wounds from an explosion that affected him in his wrist and knee. He walked with a slight limp for the rest of his life, and when typing for long periods of time, he had a lot of pain. It was really his struggle to come to terms with everything that he experienced and everything that the world, all these profound changes that the world was going through. To really make sense of everything, he turned to writing to really get things off his chest and try to make sense of the insensible.
Okay, cool. So what was some of the early stuff he worked on? Because didn't he work in TV initially?
So he started in college. He began writing. His first story was actually a war story called First Squad, First Platoon, which was not published back then, but was published last year in the Strand magazine. It just saw print for the very first time. His very first published story was a boxing story called The Good Right Hand, which came out in the it was called the Antiochian, which was his college's literary magazine. It was a 4-page boxing story. So that was the very first thing he ever published, was a boxing story, which is interesting. Not a lot of people know that, probably. So while he was in Antioch, he began working in radio. He wrote radio scripts, he acted, directed. He was very involved with their radio program. So he actually got his start in radio. Then after graduating from college, he and his wife moved to Cincinnati, which is where then he began working in television at a station called WLW, and got involved within an anthology program, which, and anthology programs, each week featured different stories by different writers with different casts. So it gave people, a chance to, see different things from different people. And so Rod Serling wrote, I believe it was 31 scripts for The Storm, which was the name of the program, and two of them were boxing stories. So he progressed from radio to television, then dabbled in feature film.